Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the broadcast. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. It is Monday, July 29th, 2019. And I am finally back here with you. I've been unable to broadcast for the past week. And I'm finally back here with you tonight for another broadcast. I'm glad to be back with you. I'm glad to not have died from heat stroke. I'm glad to have air conditioning again, and I'm glad that I still have power here at the studio. It's been a tough run the past month or so, particularly in the last week. But I am back, and we are back up and running in here, so I'm glad. I'm happy to be back with you. Hope you're all doing well out there. I've got various topics of discussion to get into with you here tonight on the show, as per usual. And I'll be getting into a variety of things, including some questions that came in from the listening audience as well. Thank you to everybody out there, the few people, I say everybody, the few people who did contribute over the past week. I appreciate it very much. This is our fundraising week for the broadcast, so we have to reach 100% of our operating cost budget by the end of the week in order to keep you got to keep going, to be able to keep everything, to keep the studio alive, to keep everything going. It's the most crucial time of the month for us every month, and those of you who haven't contributed yet, I'm hoping that the reason is that you've been waiting until this week when you knew it was the most crucial, but it was really crucial this past week, and glad we got, because we, like I said, the air conditioner went out last week and was out for like a week, almost a whole week, before they got anybody out here. And of course, once they finally got somebody out here to fix it, it took 2 seconds. I knew what it was, just out of Freon. But with this heat that we've been having, it's been insane. And the only way I've been able to survive is by not moving a lot, to be honest with you. Not moving a whole lot. I'm staying at my desk, and I've basically surrounded my desk with an army of fans. So the downside of that is that's the only way I could survive, honestly. The only downside of that is that when you got that many fans going, it's impossible to do any broadcasts without the microphone picking up all the fan noise. And, even if it didn't, I probably would have passed out. You can't do this kind of, believe it or not, there is kind of a breathing element that you sort of subconsciously learn to do over time. After a while, it's kind of like singing and stuff. You learn breathing techniques, and same thing for talking and doing radio and stuff. People really don't think that much about it, but it is. And when you're in that kind of heat, man, because I get fucking, there's certain times where I'll do a show and I'll be sweating and stuff afterwards, because you're talking, using brain power and doing all the stuff all at once. It's doing that in that kind of heat. It was just, I would, if I'd have had any kind of alternative, I would have done it, but I had no other alternative. So I did put out the new Nardwuar video last week, Nardwuar versus MKULTRA. Is there more to Nardwuar than meets the eye? If you have not seen that video yet, you should definitely check it out. It ties in with my Spellcasters 2 and 3 work. And it's got a lot of views, man. It's been out 6 days, and it cracked 4,000 views today. It's got 4,047 views as of right now. And our YouTube channel also surpassed 17,000 subscribers as well. We've gotten about 150 new subscribers in the past week. So I'm hoping that all you new people that are coming on board to listen will also be coming on board to support our work. and chip in and help us reach our operating cost goal this week. I gotta be honest with you, after keeping the electricity on, because see, this is what I was talking about. We got behind from last month because we came up short last month. We cannot come up short again this month. We have to reach 100% of our goal this week without fail, folks, or all this is going to be for naught, and it's going to be over. And as close as I am now to getting these films and how much rework, rewriting stuff I've had to do, we can't let that happen. So, and again, after covering the operating costs, after covering the electric bill and stuff like that, I mean, we're at zero, almost sub-zero again. So please go ahead and start getting your contributions in. Don't wait until the end of the week so we get in those fucking freak out red alert situations. I'm going to avoid that at all costs this week. Really, I think, I've got 13 or 14 people, I think, something like that. I haven't checked where we're at, but 13 or 14 people this week contribute out of our entire listening audience contribute $100. We'll be good to go. You can also get yourself if you want to get a question on the show, if you got a question for me to answer this week, you can contribute $100. You'll get 5 free downloads of your choice from the download shop, any of my films, audiobooks, whatever you want. And you get a question to ask on the show for a $100 contribution. If you contribute $200, you'll get the full, complete download collection, which is basically the digital download version of my box set, which contains everything, all the films, all the audiobooks, all the mini films, all that stuff I've done up to this point. Everything that's in the download store in one pack. You'll get that and a question for the show if you contribute $200 or more. So all the perks are on the campaign page. You'll find them in the links in the video on the listener archives, the member archives, which you can get a subscription of as well. It's like $80 for a year. It's we've got 3-month plans in there, monthly. You can just go month to month and pay $10 a month for the subscription to the archives as well. That way you can get all the shows. It takes a while because you have to make a video and you have to encode it and you have to do a lot of steps and then you have to upload and you have to wait for YouTube to upload it and process it and all that. It's hours. When you could be listening to this show within seconds of the time it's finished, if you get a subscription to the members archive, $10 a month, $80 for a year. We also have lifetime memberships where you can just pay a flat fee and then you get access indefinitely for life. That's $500, but it's on sale until the end of the month for $300. So be sure to check the links in the YouTube video under the information section and in the comment section as well. That's where I always post the links to the campaign page to subscribe. We also have a campaign in there where we're trying to raise funds to get a new Macintosh computer in here so I can expedite the release of the Spellcasters 2 and 3. I'm trying to do all this work on a almost 10-year-old computer that's slowing things down and on its last leg and outdated and everything else. So we got that in there. You also find links to the download shop where you can purchase all my films, audiobooks, and everything else, and also links to the where you can find the members archives for Podbean and subscribe there. They have an app and everything too, so you can listen straight to the app. You can also go to my website, beglobalreality.com, and there's a subscribe button in the top right-hand corner of the page. Click that. It'll take you through to the page where you can buy your membership to the archives there as well. And I'll also put all the links and relevant links and everything up on our Facebook pages at the Global Reality Radio Network Facebook page and the Josh Reeves Filmmaker Talk Show Host Explorer page as well. So if you haven't checked out that Nardwar video, though, I put up, you should definitely check that out. There's some interesting information in there. What do I want to get into first tonight? Let's see here. Let's get into this because this came in last weekend. So I'll get to this person sent a question in for a contribution last weekend, and since I didn't have any shows last week, I wasn't able to get to this question. So let's get to this right out of the gates. This comes from Hattie. She says, I was wondering if you could expose the newest round of truthers on YouTube. Are they connected to the CMP? And also wanted to know about Gun Owners of America connection to the CMP. Pretty much expose all the fake motherfuckers out there besides Alex Jones. Well, I mean, I've been doing that. That's what I've been doing for the past 12 years. You can't expect me to do that in one show, can you? You want me to expose all the fake motherfuckers out there besides Alex Jones? Well, I don't know why you would say besides him. What are your... it must be because you already know about him. Okay. I've got 2 or 3 other questions along these lines. I wrote this person back and said, asked them to clarify a little bit for me, and she said, okay, I guess these guys are not too new, because I didn't know, newest round of truthers on YouTube, are they connected to the CMP? I mean, how do I know if I don't know their names, So I was like, I need a little bit more info. So she wrote me back and said, okay, I guess these guys are not too new, but I want to hear about Chuck Missler, Trey Smith, Richie from Boston. I found you through Richie, Steve Quell. Some of these guys I don't know. Tim Albrino, but it doesn't matter. Tim Albrino, Doug Hagman, the Christian Network. I know they use it for mind control. I was also wondering, this is how she wrote this. I was also wondering the Mormon transhumanism. The Mormon transhumanism? Maybe you can write me back with more details or more info on what you're talking about. I don't know. Mormon transhumanism? I don't know anything about that. I know you know a lot and only have so much time. I also want to know about their connection. Okay, let's go back, because it's another one of those. It's another one of those that's got 18 questions jam-packed into one. So let me do my best to go back and break down each one of these one by one here. We'll go back to the very beginning of the first email. I wonder if you could expose newest round of truthers, YouTube, extending the CMP. Also want to Gun Owners of America in connection to the CMP. Okay, well, that is well documented. If you haven't seen my film, The Secret Right Volume 1, that connection is well documented in The Secret Right Volume 1. Back when I first started on air, back in 2007, and that's when I first found out about the Council for National Policy. Very first week I was doing shows. And as soon as I started finding out about it, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to, I got to expose this shit. But I actually, that's a great story. I actually went to go confront Larry Pratt from Gun Owners of America. I actually used to do a radio show on the Republic Broadcasting Network when I first started, about the first year I was on air. I had a regular weekday show on one network, and then I would do, because I was doing shows like fucking 6 days a week. That was a maniac. No fucking way in hell would I do that many shows in a week now. It's out of your mind. I was doing them for 4 hours. I was doing radio show 4 hours a day. Because when I first started, because I was, I was trying to go after, Jonesy. But Gun Owners of America, I mean, what else can I say at this point? It's, it's another one of these. Listen, I just didn't know. I hadn't put together, I was talking about this, so I hadn't put together the whole CIA connection to the CMP stuff. And, but I went to this, I was convinced, I went to this thing in 2008, and I shot footage for the film, The Secret Right Volume 1, which was my first film, the first film ever made on the Council for National Policy, only film made on it up to this point, I guess. Larry Pratt came up as, a Council for National Policy member. He was one of the many names that people, see, when I first found out about the Council for National Policy, the first thing about it that was set off the biggest red flags for me was as soon as I went and, because I got told about the group by Peter Dale Scott when I interviewed him. But he didn't say, he just said that, you should look into this group because these guys are, more powerful. Nobody really even knows about him, talks about him. He didn't say anything. He didn't give me any kind of info as far as who was in the group or who was involved with it or anything. I found that all out on my own. And when I was noticing that, wait a minute here, so many of these names happen to be people who I've seen or heard come on the Alex Jones show. One of those being Larry Pratt from Gun Owners of America. And then finding out about his connection to the whole the Contra thing and how he said that we needed Contra-style militias in the United States and, his connection to white supremacist stuff. And so I used to do the shows like Butt Crack at Dawn, like 7 o'clock in the morning or something on Republic Broadcasting Network. But I did it because at that time they had, it was on, it wasn't just internet radio. I mean, that was actually on terrestrial radio stations. I did 2 or 3 shows like that. I had my show for about 6 months on the big 50,000 watt flamethrower down there in Central Texas that's had polka for 5 decades, and they had Alex Jones on, and they took me off for like 6 months, and it was great. My show was broadcast for like 6 months. In the middle of the daytime, they replaced me with Alex. They replaced Alex Jones with me. And I was up there talking about the CMP and Ron Paul and the Anunnaki and fucking all kinds of wild shit in the middle of the fucking day. It'll never happen again. It was legend. It's the most legend thing that I've ever done. It was so out of control, and I was having such an effect that the guy that owned the radio station called me and said, I got bad news. I got to take your show off and put Alex Jones back on. Not because you did anything wrong. I love your information. I think it's great. He walked in here, but I've got to look out for what the best interest of the station is. And frankly, we don't bring in a lot of money. And Alex Jones walked into that radio station with a suitcase with $30,000 in it. And had my show taken off and had his put back on. I mean, this is what I'm telling you. This was 2008. That's fucking over 10 years ago. With that 2008, 2009, something like that. Yeah, that's hilarious. But I used to do that show on Republic Broadcasting Network on 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and I would talk about. It was 2 hours. I would talk about what I wanted to talk about for like the first hour, and then the second hour I'd take calls. And there was one morning where I started talking about, I said, look, these people, I was talking about the CMP and how these guys are everywhere and connected in with all these groups, and you'll find them, all these guys happen to be, you look at these lists and you see people, Jack McLam and all these people you saw be guests on Alex Jones show and all the time, and Pat Buchanan, all these people, and all these, these names of people who were considered sacred cows at that time. And I said, you'll find these people are lurking everywhere. And in fact, there's one of their members does a show on this very network later on today. Larry Pratt. Larry Pratt did a show on that network I was on the same day I did. And sure enough, I got the call. I'd been on there for about 6-8 months, had great ratings, never had a problem. And, they let me go, and they didn't give me a reason why. But, of course, I do why. You can't go exposing their CMP buddies. And then like a week after that, it was literally like a week after that, I went to this, I forget what it was called, Citizens for something. I was convinced the CMP were having a meeting in Dallas because they were having this like event, and all the big name people were there. Ron Paul and Phyllis Schlafly, Larry Pratt, Jerome Corsi was there. And I went up to him and asked him, Jerome Corsi was nice as could be and forthcoming. I went up and asked him about the Council for National Policy, asked if he was a member, and And he just smiled and openly, oh, yeah, I'm a member. Yeah, oh, yeah, it's great. And I asked Dr. Michael Kaufman, he was there. Alex Jones had him featured prominently in his movie Endgame. And Dr. Michael Kaufman was a former president. I mean, he was the top dog guy. And he was a fucking dickhead. Oh, what a cocksucker he was. I was very nice. I just went up to him, Dr. Kaufman, I just want to know if I could talk to you about the Council for National Policy for a second. What makes you think I have time to talk to someone like you? And then he walked away. I was like, yeah, it tells me everything I need to know. Because, Alex was presenting him in his movie like he was some hero or something. And he ran away from it. But I shot footage of that event. Footage of Phil Schlafly's speech is in there. I've told that story before. When she walked in the room, everybody stood up. And, I mean, literally, I've never seen anything like it. It was like they were worshiping her like she was the Queen of England. And, of course, at that time I found out, I didn't know, but I found out later about her connections to the, her blood. She's a Merovingian blue blood on both sides of her family. Usually you get one or the other. But she's the Bruce and the Stewart. The Bruce family and Stewart family are separately, individually Merovingian bloodlines, right? Blue blood bloodlines. To be a part of one, puts you in that league. But she came from a mother and a father who were both from those lineages. And I didn't know that until later. And once I learned that, that's when I started realizing, this whole bloodline thing, this is real. There's something to this. This is why I've never seen anything like it. This is why people were, talking in hushed, weird tones. It was like the Pope had walked into the room. I've never seen anything like it in my life before or since. Like not even with like rock stars and movie stars and stuff. It was beyond even that. Everyone in the room was showing respect and acting like, the Queen of England just walked. It was totally bizarre. But also at that same event was where Larry Pratt. Oh, man, that was one of the greatest moments of my life. But it was also one of those things where it let me know even then they were already monitoring me and keeping tabs on me. Because I talked about it on my show. I had a guy call in. I don't know who this person was. I never found it. He claimed to work for Larry Pratt. He called in my show right before that event and said that I was a liar. And I said, okay, well, why am I a liar? He said, well, you said on your show that you asked Larry Pratt to come on your show, but you didn't. So you're a liar. And I said, no, I never said. I asked him to come on my show. Never said that. So when I got to this event, I had every intention was I was going to get on. I was basically going to confront him and ask him all about the Contra stuff, involvement in the Iran-Contra stuff. And I was just going to let him have it and film it. And so I was sitting in the back during his speech, and with this event, you had to pay. It was very expensive to get in this event. You had to get name tags and all this stuff. And I was sitting in the back during his talk. And during the talk, I had a change of heart because I started envisioning how this was going to play out. Because all they would have done was I would have went to jail. They would have beat me down. They would have fucking hauled me out. Because I was going to get in his face and be like, you need to answer for this motherfucker, blah, blah, So I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go that route. I'm not going to go that route because then it would have blown. We'd spent all this money, even back then people had donated and stuff for us to go do this. And we'd spent all this money. And I was thinking, man, we spent all this money and we're going to get thrown the fuck out of here. And then we're not going to be able to get any of the other footage or the other stuff. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna confront him. I'm gonna go up to him and talk to him and just see how it plays out. And man, it was wild. He knew I was coming, first off. Somebody told him, somebody was listening to my show and told him, got word to him that I was coming for him. Because when I started walking towards Larry Pratt from Gun Owners of America, he saw me, he looked at me, he looked down at my name tag that had my name on it, he looked back up at me, and he turned fucking ghost white and started shaking. And that's when I realized, like, oh, he thought I was coming for him. Like, I just wanted to talk about info stuff. But when you start researching into the stuff that he's been connected to, you know, stuff like the Contras and stuff, you can see where, you know, this guy probably, judging by the stuff that he's been involved in, there was that famous Rolling Stone article about him too. Who knows what kind of skeletons that guy's got in his closet? He probably, I think, in my opinion, he thought I was somebody's family member, somebody he had a hand in, you know, having killed, or I don't know what, but something. He was scared as shit, man. When he saw my name, he turned fucking ghost white, dude. He thought that was his ass. I'm telling you, that old man shit in his depends. I'm telling you right now, he did. He fucking shit his drawers. I'm telling you. I know what a shit face looks like. Where it was like, where you just know they just fucking dropped a fucking brown baby in their fucking depends. And I didn't have the heart after that. I just said, Mr. Pratt, my name is Josh Reeves. I'd like to talk to you about your involvement with the Council for National Policy. Would you mind coming on my radio show sometime to discuss? And before I could even get the sentence out, yes. And he hands me his card. He's shaking. Yes, I'll come on your show. He's shaking. And I contacted him a bunch of times after that. And of course, he never got back to me. Never got back to me about doing an interview. He thought I was coming for him is what it was. So that's why he agreed. Oh yeah, I'll come on your show. He never would. He thought I was coming for him. I think he thought I was going to kill him. I really think he did. I think he thought I was going to murk his ass. That made me even more suspicious of him, because that made me go, okay, you know, I wouldn't call the stuff that I was going to ask him about a hanging offense. You know what I mean? But that, to me, with his reaction and how truly terrified he was, I think he thought, and then later I found out about, you know, when he found out about the CIA connection stuff, I think he maybe thought I was somebody who was coming to pull his card on that, you know, for stuff he's been involved in. That made me even more suspicious. His reaction to me made me more suspicious, because at no point, even when I was talking about on my show about going and confronting him, none of it was about anything other than just the stuff about his involvement with the Iran-Contra and the CMP stuff, and why he called for Contra-style militias in the U.S. But I think he was, he was shit scared. He really was. The man was shit scared. So yeah, as far as Gun Owners of America and the connection to the CMP, pretty simple. Larry Pratt is the, founder. And he's a member of the Council for National Policy. So there's one thing out of the way. As far as these other, Chuck Missler, Chuck Missler's just Council for National Policy guy. He's done a lot of, he's worked with Alex Jones. He's also Knights of Malta. If you watch at the very beginning of The Secret Right Volume 1, there's a real quick little clip that kind of comes in. It was very low, pixelated, very low quality. I've never been able to find another one, but it's actually a picture of Chuck Missler dressed up in Knights of Malta getup, because he's Knights of Malta and all that. Steve Quayle. All these guys. Steve Quayle's another guy. the one thing that all these guys have in common, as you're saying, these are all like the Christian broadcasters. And look, I mean, I've talked about this a million times. I mean, that's where a lot of this so-called New World Order and stuff, it all originated with, and that's, well, like I show on the Spellcasters, the connection to the conspiracy stuff and Scientology, and that connection to the CMP stuff. And I mean, it's kind of like what I mentioned I mentioned this in the Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1. I make a point in that film to talk about how, as far as exposing really any of this information, but specifically the stuff in the regarding to the ancient America stuff and the giant stuff and all that. What I was unaware of until I started getting into researching that stuff is how many. That's why a lot of you have of these people all have different agendas. And it seems like everybody is on the same page. They try to make this illusion that everybody's on the same page in looking for the truth of this stuff, and that's just not the fact. The fact of the matter is, the Christian types have their... Listen, I can simplify this real easy for you. Christianity and the truth do not go hand in hand. And if you don't know that by now, and you're waiting on me to tell you, you got problems. Religion and the truth don't go hand in hand. You know, all of these people, I don't know who Tim Albrino or Doug Hageman is. All I can tell you is that they're involved in church or Christian stuff, and they're purporting to put out truth. They have an agenda, and generally it's an agenda that they use this stuff to try to strengthen whatever their particular narrative is they're trying to spin. Like, for instance, Steve Quayle will talk about the giant stuff when he's relating that from the standpoint of trying to prove biblical stuff. That's hogwash. That's why I say in Lost Secrets of Ancient America, I don't have any agenda for this stuff to be true to prove, some narrative I'm trying to spin to justify the existence or belief in a particular religion or political backing. And all those guys, who's the other guy? He looks into some of this stuff. I can't remember his name. He's been on Coast to Coast AM a lot. But all these guys, they're coming from a background where they're working backwards, and they're trying to take all this information and cherry pick it so that it, in their minds, helps strengthen whatever particular religious thing they're trying to use to back up. I was largely unaware of that. It's unbelievable. And now the newest one is the Afrocentric types. Those are the newest ones that are trying to use this information to justify their particular belief. A greatest comment I ever had on YouTube was a week or so ago. Somebody left a comment on my Lost Secrets trailer that said, "Whites have always been great liars, dirty, filthy liars. That rock wall was built by blacks 4,000 years ago." Motherfucker, there weren't blacks in Rockwall 20 years ago. Blacks in America 4,000 years ago. That's hilarious. Motherfucker, there were black people. They ain't lying to you. There weren't black people in Rock. Probably not very many there now. I mean, I'm sure there are now, but there were 20 years ago, there weren't any blacks in Rockwall. That's just a fact. Not to mention this thing dates around 432,000 years ago. So you got that crowd. And another one I didn't know about that I found out when I was researching this stuff, I started finding out about around 2010, was that besides the Christians, and now the most recently the Afrocentric types are trying to use this information to justify their own existence. The other one is the neo-Nazi white supremacist types. And I got on to finding that out even before I made the Lost Secrets of Ancient America when I was right around the time, I guess 2010 or 11 or so, right around the time when I did some of those Zachariah Sitchin readings on air, and which you can get in the audio book collection in the download shop, by the way. Because when I was researching a lot of stuff, I started finding out that, and this was mind blowing to me, but to make total sense once I'd read a lot of this stuff. It was shocking for me to find out that one of the main groups that seems to know the most about the Anunnaki stuff are the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists. Because if you read in the ancient Sumerian text, it talks about, and I talked about this when I did the Lost Book of Enki reading, it talks about how essentially the races of people on Earth were created, and the differences in them were created because of the different amounts of Anunnaki DNA that they used in the creation of their slave races to replace the Agigi who revolted and didn't want to do the work. And it talked about how, they had the, they called them the dark heads. That's what they called them. That's what in the ancient texts. They called them the dark heads, and they had the least amount of Anunnaki DNA. And then you had the Mongoloids, which would be like Asiatic races, and they had a little bit more of the Anunnaki DNA, and then the Caucasoids were created, and they were given the most amount of Anunnaki DNA, and these were the Caucasoids were the ones that were put in position of power and given the divine right to rule because they were given the largest amount of DNA, and so the ones with the lesser amounts were considered lesser races. And since blacks were said to have the least amount of Anunnaki DNA, they were considered, the lower. And this is from, this is in the Zachariah Sitchin stuff, and this is in the Sumerian text and whatnot. And boy, you bet your ass, those white supremacist types use that to justify their existence and to justify their beliefs. So I remember around the time when I did Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1, I found this audio book. And I can't remember the name. It was something similar to my film name. It was like Lost. It was Lost Secrets of Ancient America. It was like Lost Worlds of America. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, the guy that wrote that, I found this book. I didn't know anything about the guy. I found this book, and it mentioned the rock wall, and so I was like, cool, I'll read this on my show. So I read the book on air. And the very next day after I read that book, I got an email from somebody that said, hey, man, why are you reading books on your show from written by Nazi child molesters? What the fuck are you talking about? I've never read any book on, I read books written by Nazi child molesters that I know of. And of course, this Frank Joseph guy, also known as Frank Collin. I expose all this at the beginning of Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 2, by the way, because I show how his connection to Scott Walter and the whole cover up the Rockwall thing. Yeah, he got caught. He got caught having sex with two 10-year-old boys in a car. But he's another one of these guys that again, parading around and trying to use this knowledge and this information to either reinforce their ideas of, because see, the Nazis want to believe, the Nazis are trying to prove, because that's what Hitler was looking for too. That's why Hitler had all these search parties going out looking for ancient civilizations and looking for lost relics and stuff. They believe the giants are the remnants of the master race. And so whether you have Nazis and neo-Nazis, you have all these different groups that have the different agendas to use this information on. It's not based on pure knowledge and truth. It's about them trying to have more evidence for why their particular narrative of whatever their belief system is, whether it be the religion or the Nazi thing, this is a way for them to, but the problem is, not all of them are upfront about that's their part of their agenda, and so people get drawn into that. And these Christian types do the same thing. And unless you are completely separated from belief systems, political systems, et cetera, you're never going to find the real truth, because you're always going to be hindered and held down by these specific groups that are going to leave out certain parts of the information that doesn't fit in with their agenda. You know, are all these guys that you're asking about, are they all connected to the Council for National Policy? I don't know. I really don't. Email me more about what you want to know about the whole Mormon trans. I don't know what, you don't get the whole Mormon transhumanism thing. I've never heard anything about that. So let me know and I'll let you know more. But as far as all the rest of those people you named, again, those are all people that are, quote unquote, connected to church and they're all so-called Christians and whatnot. These people, every single one of these people have an agenda. That's the whole thing with the Council for National Policy, is why you have so many of those people in there. And a lot of them do it and operate and do it just so they can get a 501c3 tax exemption. I could have years ago become one of these fake guys and started putting out this stuff and it acted like I was, some Christian guy and some preacher and, fighting the New World Order and all this stuff, and got a 501c3 tax exemption and made a fucking fuck ton of money. Jones has had that for years. I figured that out 10 years ago when I heard Jones referring to InfoWars as a quote unquote ministry. And apparently he has to do that every now and again on air so he can keep his 501c3 tax exemption status. So that's what a lot of these guys are. The CMP has 501c3 tax exemption, just like Scientology does. This enables, it basically enables them to get the funding they need for their operations and allows their constituents that contribute to write it off. It's a big scam. All this stuff is. I appreciate your question. How do you get back to me on the Mormon transhumanism thing? Let me know what you're talking about with that, and I'll see what I can do about talking about that. I really don't know what you're talking about. But, I talked about this on another one of the recent shows. I'm getting to the point now anymore, because I get a lot of these, getting a lot of stuff lately where everybody wants to ask me. It seems that everyone wants me to be the determining factor on whether or not this person is legit or what person isn't. And, I'm okay with that. I don't mind the questions. I'm okay with that to a certain point. But again, like I said, you can't get mad at me and shoot the messenger. I'm just getting to the point where I don't even want to answer these questions or even talk about this stuff now, because it seems like every time I do and I'm honest and I give someone an honest answer as I see it from my research and from doing this for as long as I have, it does me more harm than good. Either it pisses somebody off because I fucking, made them butthurt because I exposed because I said their hero was a fraud, or, it's almost getting to the point where it's not even in my best interest anymore to answer these questions. And I got a couple other ones. Someone wanted to know if I have a list of known shills to stay away from and ones that are the real deal. Again, that's the type of question where it's like, it almost doesn't do me any favors to answer a question like that. Because I don't have any safe, comfortable answers for you. I just don't. I wish that it wasn't that way. I wish that I had a list of people I could say, these people are great researchers. They've done great work. They're trustworthy. You know, have you noticed you don't see me working with anybody? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed I don't have guests? You've noticed that, right? It's not because I wouldn't want to. I mean, the fact of the matter is, they're just... I just can't, in good faith, honestly tell you that I can endorse any current researchers or radio hosts or filmmakers or anything out there as the real deal. I can't. I wish I could. And I'm not saying that from a standpoint of I'm the only one with the truth. I'm the only one. I'm not saying that at all. You know, you got to use your own discernment. You got to learn to get discernment about these guys, and you can be able to sniff them out and smell them out by what they talk about and what they don't talk about. But, no, listen, it wasn't always this way. I had a lot of people that I used to be into when I first started doing this, and I interviewed every single one of them. All the people that I was inspired by, I interviewed all of them, some of them multiple times. But either through their actions and through interactions that I had with them, or through other things that I found out through the course of my research and connections, there isn't a one of those people that I admired when I first came into doing this that I interviewed, and I interviewed a lot of them that that I can tell you are trustworthy. And that just me saying that automatically pisses off a certain amount of people. I mean, all I'm doing is giving you the truth. All I'm doing is giving you the honest answer to an honest question. But somehow that makes me the enemy. That's what I'm saying. It's getting to the point now where I'm almost not going to answer these questions anymore. Past this. I mean, believe me. And I've said this many times on the show in the past. Believe me. The day I find somebody that's making films and doing their own research and not, dick riding or parroting somebody else has already said or done, and really doing it, I think, legitimately, you will be the first one to know. I'll be up here to trumpet them and have them on and everything else. But unfortunately, it's just, that's just not the case. There are a lot of people that, there are people that I've came up with when I first started doing this, that I was on networks with, that, over the course of years and stuff that's happened, and it turns out that a lot of those people were 100% CIA. Not going to lie to you. There are people I used to be on networks with that are 100% CIA. They're not around anymore, but it's crazy shit, man. Somebody left a comment on YouTube. See, this is what I'm talking about, though. It just almost does me no good. It almost does me no good to answer some of these questions sometimes. So I said, are you familiar with the recent death of Tracy Twyman? She's another researcher I respect, for whose death was deemed a suicide by hanging. However, I believe she was murdered. I'd love any input you have. So tough. I can't tell you what you want to hear, man. I can't do it. I'm incapable of it. And I know with that question, that's exactly what you want me to do. You have to make a decision. Do you want the truth? as uncomfortable as it might be, do you want the truth, or would you prefer an answer that just reinforces what you want to believe? Because I can't give you that. Listen, I think it's bullshit. I think that person most likely, this is my honest opinion, I think that's a fake suicide. Where that person came out of, I'm not going to say the name of the radio show. You can look it up and figure it out yourself. Where she originated from was a radio show that came up right around the same time I started mine. And that outfit that she came out of, I can tell you beyond any shadow of a doubt, that outfit that she started with and came out of was a CIA-connected so-called truther radio show. Because from day one, even though I never had a problem with that person, that organization ever, they were attacking me, coming right out of the gates, which was strange because I'd never said anything about it, wasn't aware. They had been requested, thousands of people had requested for me to be on their show. They would never have me on. There was, back in the old days when we used to have the chat room, people affiliated with that used to come in and do some stuff, hacking and whatnot. We tracked a lot of their IPs of the people that were related to that particular radio show and the organization where Tracy Twyman came out of. They traced back to Langley and where the CIA headquarters and all that stuff is. I think her death was faked. I think that this is what they do a lot of times. Whenever they take an operative, they want to put them in other operations, they have these fake suicides like this. So, I know that's not what you want to hear, man. I know you want me to tell you that, yes, she was murdered by the Illuminati and she was, because she was putting out truth. So I got to tell you, man, this is the kind of stuff they do. And these outfits do that to strengthen the belief that they're the source of truth. Because, oh, look, the people that have come out of our outfit have been murdered and have been suicided. Project Camel Toe, that's another one like that. And I exposed them and their connections to CIA or to Scientology stuff. Listen, man, you got to beware that all of these so-called truth and conspiracy outlets, especially if they have large amounts of followings, I didn't want to admit this either, man. Okay? I mean, there were people that I became friends with. People I admired as researchers and whatnot, man, and every single last one of them has been proven to be connected to this stuff. And that's what makes my job so difficult. That's what's kept me maligned. That's what has kept me, that's why they wanted to keep me largely suppressed. Because I don't pull punches, I don't lie, and I don't go along to get along. There was one of these particular types. I was on their show a few years ago, right when I was doing the Lost Secrets 2 stuff, and I started exposing the stuff with this particular person had on that cocksmoker from American Unearthed on his show, and he'd had me on, and he basically told all the people at Coast to Coast AM not to have me on anymore because I was a troublemaker. Because that's what he said. Call me a troublemaker for exposing Scott Walter. Because I started showing, look, we're supposed to believe this guy that didn't even test, that didn't even do any mineralogical tests on the rock wall stuff. We're supposed to believe his assessment, and a lot of people have, that the rock wall is some natural formation, even though they didn't test the actual stone material. They didn't do the analysis, didn't bring up what the stuff that I've shown in Bud Shelton's geological report. And you're going to believe the guy. I started exposing, like I show in Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 2, that Scott Walter was the guy. A lot of people don't know this. He's the guy that cooked up the narrative and the official story on what happened at the Pentagon on 9/11. That's a fact. You can look it up. And I got called a troublemaker by a particular radio host who tried to have me blackballed and blacklisted on as being a guest on radio shows like Coast to Coast AM and others for exposing the fact that Scott Walter, who this person liked and had on his show, was a hired government shill who was paid to come out. This is not a conspiracy theory. You can look this up. He even admits to it. He was the guy that created the narrative of what happened at the Pentagon on 9/11. That bullshit story we were given about a fucking plane hitting there, even though there's never been any plane wreckage, never any indestructible titanium engines that could never have disappeared or melted or evaporated. You know, when I found that out, I was like, okay, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why he was the guy. Because nobody, and I mean, there was the lady who was the granddaughter of the guy that discovered the rock wall. And she had been calling people, trying to get people to come out and you know, do a special on the rock wall and stuff. Nobody would ever do anything about her. She watched Lost Secrets 1 came out. 3 months after Lost Secrets of Ancient America 1 came out, she got contacted by Scott Walter and the History Channel, and this is when they started. All of a sudden, I mean, nobody had. This is a fact, folks. This is the impact of my work. There was zero interest in the rock wall until I came out with Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1, and within 3 months of that movie coming out, the History Channel and Scott Walter and these people were already starting to put together their fucking whitewash job for America Unearthed. And they hired the guy that cooked up the official bullshit story of what happened at the Pentagon on 9/11 to do it. Okay? So, you know, the little bit of money that we need in here to cover our operating costs and to do the work, ladies and gentlemen, is fucking minuscule in comparison to the literal millions of dollars these people have spent to combat me. Between Jones going and fucking paying the guy at the radio station with a briefcase full of $30,000 to get me off the air, to Scott Walter, the guy that cooked up the fucking bullshit narrative of what happened at the Pentagon on 9/11, to then after I come out with all my stuff on Scientology and the connections to the truth movement stuff there, and, you know, Rima Libo and all that stuff, and Jones, and then what do? Oh, they bring out a fucking TV crew from, put me on that TV show and try to fucking defame me that way. Mr. Reeves has so far not provided any evidence to support his claims. And it goes on and on. And listen, man, it's deeper than you could ever dream. I mean, man, I wish that I could tell you that, you know, check this person out, read this person's book, you know, go listen to this person's show. Listen, I'm not saying there aren't some out there. And I probably just don't know about them. And there's probably some people out there that don't have very many listeners that are suppressed, and I don't know of any. I'd love to tell you. I'd love to be able to tell you what you want to hear. I just am incapable of doing it. And you know, you cannot hold that against me. This is why I almost don't want to answer these questions anymore. Because every time someone asks me one of these questions, they want me to verify for them that their hero or their particular researcher or whoever or personality or podcast host or whoever, they want me to constantly reaffirm to them that the person they're a fan of is the real deal, and then I don't do that, and then they're pissed. They're pissed at me, and then they don't want to support my work, or they don't want to contribute or donate because I hurt their feelings because I didn't tell them what they want to hear about their hero. And I'm sorry, man, I'm incapable of doing that. I just can't. And look, if I could, I know You know, I'd probably make a bunch of money. I've never been a person that can just go along to get along. Some asshole left a comment on my video the other day. Oh, you're just another one of these people that believes everything Alex Jones says. I'm like, what? Obviously, you know nothing about me. I've been exposed to Alex Jones for 12 years, longer than anybody. But nobody wanted to hear about it. The disinformation and the lies and the propaganda and stuff. I mean, listen, watch Spellcasters Volume 1. I mean, the stuff that I expose in there, you know, like the stuff with Jim Mars and all that. I mean, I knew Jim Mars personally. Met him and hung out with him many times. Do you think it gave me fucking pleasure to have to find his connections to Scientology and him going and attending all of the big Scientology gatherings and stuff and being a guest at their functions? And do you think any of that stuff made me happy or made it? No. But you got to get over it. You got to accept the facts of the truth and move on. You can't just stick your head in the sand like an ostrich. The problem is that it's just like why it's the same thing with why a lot of people don't want to accept any of the conspiracy information or any of this stuff in general. You know, when you tell them about it, because the thing is, people think they're smart, whether they are or not. And whether they think they're smart or not, a lot of people think they're intelligent, and they think that if what you're telling them is real, they would have heard about it by now from someone other than you. That's the thing. That's the arrogance. That's what a lot of people get in their head. And then when they get confronted with the truths that they can't ignore, then they get mad and they resent you because they feel like you've now made them feel like an idiot or a moron because they fell for some shill and they fell for some disinformation artist. And now because of that, they're lesser than, and it's your fault because you're the one that pointed it out. And had you not pointed that out, they would have never known. So again, got to shoot the messenger. You know, there's a lot of that. And all I can tell you is that you're not stupid. You're not a moron. You're not an idiot. We all got duped on some level at some point with all this stuff, myself included. But I can admit that I was fooled by some of these people in research, but I've now since, corrected that course and have gone on with my work and my own research and exposing this stuff. Just because, you were a fan of one of these people, and then you have to hear from me that they aren't what you thought they were, you don't have to be mad at me about it, and you don't have to be mad at yourself about it. You just simply need to take the information, continue to do your own research, and move on. No reason to think that you're any lesser than because you fell for whoever, insert name here, researcher, host, whatever, whether it was Alex Jones or anybody else. Hey, I fell for Alex Jones stuff for a couple of years too, from 2005 till 2007. But then I started doing my show. I found out about the CMP. I started researching that end of it. I started exposing it. I've been going ever since. And yeah, let me tell you, when I first found out about the CMP stuff, when I started researching that, it was tough. It was like a mental breakdown. It was like waking up to this stuff all over again. it hurt. It was too, I had physical pain. I mean, you come out of one, you know, you get unplugged from the matrix, right? And you get shown that what you thought was the real world was just this conscript, this, you know, this matrix program. And then once you acclimate to understanding that everything that you thought was real was this phony matrix, right about the time you've accepted that and you've come to grips with that, then you find out that the people that told you about this matrix were actually lying to you about that as well. And then you have to wake up and understand a wholly different paradigm. And so you escaped the mainstream consensus reality paradigm and you've got to this alternative thinker, whatever conspiracy level thing where you find out everything's a fraud because you're being told by all these different sources, right? And then you're like, oh God, why didn't I never see it? You know? Oh, now I'm awake now. How come God, never go back to that. Can't believe I didn't. Oh, now I got to go wake everybody else up too. Then, so most people can handle that. What they can't handle is the next level of finding out that all those people that told them about this fake matrix are actually in on the fucking agenda and on the plan too. And everything they've told you has been, that's where people shut down. A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people do. Because it's just too much. It's too much of a mind fuck for them. And that's the kind of mind fuck I experienced when I found out about the Council for National Policy stuff. I started going and finding all this stuff and finding, oh my God, all these, you know, immediately when the first weekend I was looking at this, I realized, I went, oh my God. Because I'd only been on air a week. And I was in this position to where I was going to go on air the following week, the second week of me ever being doing this show, and to tell people this new jack nobody that nobody knows that has come out of nowhere and literally been doing a show for a week is going to come out and tell everybody about this group, the Council for National Policy. And oh, by the way, it's connected to the Rothschilds of the CIA, and you've got people like Dr. Edward Teller, the fucking father of the hydrogen bomb, who was CIA, who's on the board of governors. You got people like Edgar and Elsa Prince, father of Eric Prince of Blackwater. They were on the board of governors for the CMP. You got Tim LaHaye, the author of the Left Behind books. You got the Hunt oil family. You got Jack McLamb and fucking Jerome Corsi, and you got fucking Dr. Michael Cutting. You got all these people that have been associated with Alex Jones, Ron Paul, you know, and guess what? They're all involved in this secretive right-wing group that got its startup money from the Hunt oil family, the family that was involved with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And by the way, they're more secretive and more powerful than, you know, the Council on Foreign Relations and all these other groups you've been told about. I'm going to come out a week after I've been on air and tell people this. People are going to fucking think that I'm the biggest shill that's ever walked the face of the earth. And that's exactly what I had to do. But I could have made the decision to never touch that information. I could have made the decision to never come out with it, to never talk about it, and just keep it suppressed and gone along to get along. And I'm sure I'd be one of the biggest names in the genre now. I'm sure I'd be a multimillionaire like Alex Jones and a lot of those others. But that's not me, and I can't do it. Even if I said, you know what, I'm going to do it, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I can't do that. I'm in this for the truth, first and foremost. I never wanted to be a radio talk show host or a documentary filmmaker or anything else. I just, my whole life, have been on the search for truth. And when someone suggested I should do a show and I got an opportunity to do it, that's what I did. And I've been going ever since. Thank God for people out there like yourselves and others who kept me going. I would not be here today if it wouldn't be for people who constantly made sure that we have funding to keep it going. And that's the most important thing here. And that's what we need this week more than anything else. You know, I was completely incapable of just sitting on that CMP stuff. You know, I knew it was going to be a hard road. I knew it was going to be a tough road. I knew it wasn't going to gain me any friends. I mean, you know, when I first went on Coast to Coast AM in 2013, all the producers and everybody there said, why have we never heard of you until now? We can't understand it, this, that, and the other. I was like, because I've been suppressed, man. I won't go along to get along. I won't be a good little boy and keep my mouth shut and go along with the scams and the schemes. Why do you think they have all these conspiracy conferences and all this stuff all the time, every year, and you never see me at one, and I never get invited to one? Why do you think that is? Because I won't go along with their little agenda. I won't go along with their little scam. And the people who become the big names are the people who are willing to keep their mouth shut. That's why you never hear them talk about anybody, other researchers. They never say any bad or negative words. They go along to get along because they want to create this false idea that those are the people who are providing the truth. And that somebody like me must obviously not be providing the truth. Otherwise, I'd have millions of followers and I'd have millions of dollars and I'd have, this, that, and the other. If you're thinking that way, you're already lost. You're already lost. And I don't know if there's any recovery for you. I mean, I have been suppressed at every turn. I've been doing this for 12 years. I've put out almost 8 full-length documentaries, a whole slew of mini-films. Go look at my download shop. I've been on Coast to Coast AM twice. I've been on British television. I'm in that Hollywood Conspiracy Files documentary. It's still on Netflix. None of that stuff gave any kind of a significant bump to my work, folks, because I'm not shilling for the liars. So, again, I don't mind answering any questions, and I don't mind answering. You want to know about this person, that person. I don't want to answer you, but just for future reference, be aware that most likely I'm not going to have an answer you're going to like if you ask me about another whoever, researcher, radio host, whatever. I'm probably not going to have a positive answer for you. And that's not because I'm being a hater or any other reason. It's because I can't give you anything else other than the straight truth. I wish I could. I wish I was capable. If I was capable of being able to tell lies on that level, I'd be a millionaire. Because then I'd just be able to say, oh, yeah, that person's great. Yeah, you're right on for being into them. That's what people want. That's what people want me to do. It's crazy. And then they take it out on me when I don't do that. It's wild. I mean, people just expect me to go, oh, yeah, so-and-so, that person's great. Thumbs up, yeah. I mean, there's even been ones, I'm not going to name names, but there's been researchers and people that I defended for years, even though people called them shills and everything else. And I defended them for years. And then, even when they had associated with CMP types and I let it go and didn't call them on it, even though I knew damn well they knew who they were associating with because they had seen my Council for National Policy move The Secret Right, Volume 1 and 2, and posted it on their own website, yet they're still associating with these types, Man, it's wild. I mean, folks, it's bad. It is, things are not good as far as, there's 98% of what's out there is disinformation. It's wild. I made that Nardwar video. God, I even forgot to put in some of the stuff in that. I forgot to, because it had the stuff with Katy Perry and Courtney Love and all that. And the MKULTRA stuff, I forgot to put in the photos of Courtney Love and Katy Perry, both at Kanye West's Sunday service Ascension Cult shit. If you didn't see my Mystery Hollywood series and see the stuff I talked about the Ascension cults in there, with what I found in that movie and the Kanye West stuff and all that, you need to see that. You can get the whole 5-part series in my download shop. They're $10 each, or you can get a pack that has all 5 for only $40, $10 off. It's 9 hours. You need to see it if you haven't seen it. You will not regret it. Some of the most mind-blowing info I've come across yet is in that Mystery Hollywood series. But I forgot to even put that in that Nardwuar video. I mean, hell, that's another fucking smoking gun thing. You had Courtney Love and fucking Kanye West and Katy Perry all in the same spot. That's just an MKUltra fucking salad bar, ain't it? Did any of you happen to see the new Quentin Tarantino movie over the weekend? I didn't go see it because I didn't have the money to go see it, but I watched it. I'll leave it at that. Man, I got to tell you. First off, if you didn't see this movie and you haven't seen it yet and you're planning on seeing it, do not rush out and spend your money. Wait until it's on fucking video, home video, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. Download. Just wait. Okay? I thought the acting and the sets were great, but the story and the dialogue were garbage. Total garbage. And, you know, as much as it, well, I mean, I don't know. It takes one to know one. I think the only reason Alex Jones would be informed enough to make this statement would be because he's involved with that shit himself, too. But, you know, Jones a while back called Quentin Tarantino a pedophile, but didn't give any evidence towards it, you know, as Jones usually does, and he'll just make claims. But it does make you wonder sometimes, you know, like you're like, what? How can you make a claim like that, not presenting information, yet say it so, you know, like you know? Well, that's because he's saying that because he's on the inside of this shit. But after the stuff I uncovered in that Nardwuar video pertaining to the stuff with MKUltra and the LSD stuff, and the Timothy Leary clip with Nardwuar, where he's talking about, you know, hanging out with Winona Ryder. And of course, Winona Ryder's father was involved in the MKUltra stuff. He was an archivist for Leary. And Uma Thurman, Timothy Leary used to be married to Uma Thurman's mother. And, you know, I listened Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you know, if you saw the previews and you saw the trailer, I don't know, maybe I was mistaken. But if you haven't seen the trailer, watch the trailer. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I was under the impression, because the movie, first off, it was way too long. It was boring as shit. It didn't have any of the normal things you expect to hear and see in a Quentin Tarantino movie, which is like, you know, an interesting story, number one, and amazing dialogue. Had a lot of big names in it that basically had small parts that meant absolutely zero, nada, nothing to the... I mean, Al Pacino, his presence in that movie is completely unnecessary. The part that he played had no bearing on the story. I put story in air quotes because the story was terrible. Had no bearing on the story at all. None of the big names really, besides Brad Pitt and DiCaprio, had any, you know, all the rest of the people with the big names, and they just had very small parts. But I mean, just judging by the preview and the trailer, I assumed what we were getting was the Quentin Tarantino version of the Sharon Tate murders with Manson and all that. That's what I assumed we were getting. Oh boy, was I wrong. Oh, was I ever wrong. That's like, it was like going and ordering lobster and getting served dog food. Literally. Because it's this like alternative universe, weird. I don't know how. Listen. If you really, I gotta spoil it. Listen. Spoiler alert. I can just say spoiler alert. No, that's not what we got. I thought we were getting the previews make it seem that way, and the movie even makes it seem that way. They build it up towards the middle of the movie to psychologically to where you really believe that's what's coming, because they got the Manson family in there, and they've got Sharon Tate in there, and it's right around the time when the murders happened, and they show her pregnant and all that, and you're like, oh, and Kurt Russell's doing like voiceover narrative stuff, and they're showing this happened at this time, and you're building up thinking, well, I think like everybody thought, I don't know, maybe I'm a fool. I thought we were getting, I mean, it's like not good as advertised. I thought we were getting Quentin Tarantino version of the Sharon Tate murders. That's not what it was at all. This is some alternative history, alternative timeline, which tells you why it's called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a total complete fairy tale. But I just don't see the point of it. I don't see the point of the fairy tale. It's this alternative universe fairy tale where Tex Watson and Squeaky Fromme and the other chick, that did the murders, don't go to the Tate house, they go to the next door house, which is the house that was owned by Leonardo DiCaprio's character and Brad Pitt. And the murders never take place. Tex Watson and Squeaky Fromme and them get murdered themselves. And Sharon Tate lives, and the movie's over. And I know a lot of people, small-minded people, might take it as it's just a fantasy. Like, what if she hadn't been killed? No, that's not what it is. Because think about it. If those murders didn't happen and Sharon Tate didn't get killed, what does that mean? That means Manson never went to jail. That's what I took away from watching the movie. Not that, this is some beautiful what if thing. What if Sharon Tate had lived? No. This means that that Manson would have never went to jail. And with all the stuff that I'm going to be showing in Spellcasters 2 and 3 relating to Manson, the stuff with, just like in the Nardwuar video. Remember the Nardwuar video with Timothy Leary? And he asked him about Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson was another MKUltra mind control victim. He was, dosed with acid and then fucking lost his mind, couldn't go out on the road anymore, stayed in the studio, and then, produced the record Pet Sounds. And then he had a couple of replacements. He had Glenn Campbell. A lot of people don't know that. When Brian Wilson first had his mental breakdown from doing acid, the guy they brought in to replace Brian Wilson on the road was fucking Glenn Campbell, Rhinestone Cowboy Glenn Campbell. And then he just stayed in the studio doing stuff. And then, of course, the connection with all the stuff is going to be in Lost Secrets 2 and 3. I'm not Lost Secrets 2 and 3. The Spellcasters 2 and 3. All the stuff with his brother, Dennis Wilson, the brother from the Beach Boys, his connection to the Manson, Terry Melcher. Terry Melcher was the guy who was Doris Day's son, record producer. Yeah, man, they were putting out a record. There's a song on one of the Beach Boy albums. I've got it on vinyl. And it's Manson. Dude, they had Manson up in their brother's studio, the Beach Boy studio. They were recording records with him. They were trying to make him a pop star. They had signed him to their record label, and then he started, being weird and shit, and basically him and his whole family came over and took over Dennis Wilson's house. Man, there's more to this than you could even fucking dream. And Doris, and of course Terry Melcher was who used to live in the house Sharon Tate and them were murdered in. Terry Melcher produced and wrote songs, did stuff with the Beach Boys. He was Doris Day's son. That's another tie-in I've got with the movie with Doris Day, because I've talked about that before. Doris Day is another one of these people like the fake Paul McCartney and B.B. King and others that were replaced by clones. We're back to that again, which I talk about in the Mystery Hollywood series. I mean, you can't even, this is why it takes so long for me to make these fucking movies, man. I can't even I'm not a genius. I can't wrap my mind around all this stuff and present it all succinctly in a film and just do it and put it right out. It's tough. There's so much to it. It blows your mind. But when I started, after I watched that movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I started thinking about this idea of Sharon Tate living, and that meaning that Manson would have never went to jail, or maybe he would have done some other crime. I guess you could easily make that argument. Well, he probably, if they didn't go to jail for murdering Sharon Tate, they probably would have went to jail for murdering somebody else. Okay, I could see that. But why is that necessary to do it? And why is it Quentin Tarantino that's doing it? And then I started thinking about the stuff that, the Uma Thurman connection to MKULTRA and to Timothy Leary and all that. And the other thing, you guys know about, I'll try to post some of this stuff on Facebook later, just so you can see some of these pictures. You guys know all the stuff about Quentin Tarantino and his foot fetish? If you've ever seen his movies, he's got an obsession with dirty white girl feet. There's just no other way to put it. He's obsessed with white girls with dirty feet, and in this movie, it's no different. And I was like, man, this almost seems like an MKUltra trigger or something for him, or some more sadistic thing. But there's this picture where, anyway, before I get to that, in this movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he shows more. He always does close-ups of feet. Watch fucking Pulp Fiction. He shows Uma Thurman's feet, does close-ups on them. Kill Bill, Uma Thurman's feet again. There was that story that came out around the Oscars or something where he drank, what's that shoe, that famous woman's shoe? Louboutin, is that what they're called? Louboutins? That famous story that came out, you can look it up, where he drank champagne out of Uma Thurman's fucking shoe. And that Death Proof movie, there's some feet in there. Jackie Brown, he shows a close-up of Bridget Fonda's feet. In that, he's got a major foot fetish, dude. The guy is into major. Remember From Dusk Till Dawn? Remember that? He sucks on Selma Hayek's toes in From Dusk Till Dawn. Sucks them on camera. The dude's got a major foot fetish. And listen, I ain't hating. Whatever you're into, that's cool. But when you see this thing, I'll post it on, this is the tail of the tape. I'll post it on Facebook later. Or this picture where he's sucking on someone's toes. He's wearing an AC/DC shirt, or it looks like. No, it's not actually an AC/DC shirt. It's some shirt. It's something else, but it looks like an AC/DC shirt. But he's sucking on what appears to be a very small foot and toes. I'll read you what this says. It says, above is Quentin Tarantino sucking the toes of an unknown person. At left is Quentin Tarantino displaying his Oscar. The Oscar statuette is known to be 13.5 inches in height. The dimension was used to establish a standard of measure that could be used to a reasonable degree of accuracy in both photos. Measuring from the corner of Tarantino's left eye to the bottom of his left chin in the Oscar photo gave a result of 4.874 inches. The toe-sucking photo was sized to match that scale. When the same ruler at the same magnification is used to measure the tibia length of the leg of the unknown person that he's sucking on the toes of, the measurement is approximately 10 inches at best, possibly less. A formula used in forensics to determine height is 4.77 times tibia length for males, 4.88 times tibia length for females. If that is a female leg and foot, which it appears to be, that means that the unknown person in the photo is approximately 48.8 inches tall, or slightly over 4 feet tall, according to the CDC average growth chart. The unknown person is likely between 6 and 8 years old. Maybe Jones was right. I mean, Jones was calling him a pedo a while back. I mean, he didn't give any evidence, but looking at this, and all the, multiple movies where he's showing, the Uma thing, he's drinking champagne out of her fucking shoe that she just took off her foot, and he's fucking doing close-ups of her feet across multiple movies, and then her, possible connection to the MKUltra stuff. I'm starting to look at Quentin in a completely different way now. And then, basically changing history and making Sharon Tate live, meaning Manson never goes to prison. You already know about Manson's connection to the MKUltra stuff, the connections to the Beach Boys, and to the fake the Paul McCartney thing, all that stuff. I mean, man, it's just, this stuff just never fucking ends, does it? But it really hit me when I got done watching that movie, because I saw the close up, the dirty feet, and there was so much accuracy too as far as the information on the Manson family in that movie. And you're sitting there going, man, where is the action? I mean, I thought we would have got, we didn't even get a Samuel L. Jackson saying motherfucker or calling anybody nigga or anything like that. And in fact, come to think of it, I don't think there was one, not that it matters or anything, but it's just odd. I don't think there was a single black person in that entire movie. Am I wrong about that? Anybody else see it? Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think there was. It's just odd. For Quentin Tarantino movies, usually, maybe Reservoir Dogs. Was there any black people in Reservoir Dogs at all? I don't think so. Not necessarily, I guess, a requisite, but I mean, for Quentin Tarantino, I guess you kind of come to expect that, I don't think there was a single black person in that entire movie. That's strange. But yeah, when it was all just, well, why would you even, what would be, I don't understand it. I just don't get it, I guess. The only thing that makes sense to me is that, I don't know, he's an MKUltra guy having sympathy for another MKUltra victim and having sympathy for Manson. So I don't know. But these people are obsessed with that stuff, and it's at every turn, every time I'm researching, especially stuff I've been researching here for Spellcasters 2 and 3, there's connections back to it. You can connect it back to even the newer generations of, fucking Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails, the first person that fucking Courtney Love dated after Kurt was dead. And what did he do? He bought that fucking place where the Sharon Tate house was at, where they built another house at, and he put the studio there, and that's where he recorded like the first fucking Marilyn Manson album and all that stuff. And then, fucking Marilyn Manson was blamed for the Columbine stuff. I mean, it just fucking never ends, man. But, go type Quentin Tarantino foot fetish and look at the articles and look at the Google images, and you'll see the stuff I'm talking about. It's been right there in front of our faces, man. It never really dawned on me or hit me until I watched this most recent man. What, this motherfucker's got a foot fetish. He's always showing dirty white girls' feet in the fucking movies. And then, you go look online, it's a picture of him fucking sucking toes. He sucked Salma Hayek's toes in the movie fucking Dusk Till Dawn. But if he's sucking on fucking 6 and 8 year old girl toes, well, it's something together altogether. Look, I don't give a fuck if you suck toes, man. Whatever you're into, I'm not hating on that. But when you got a guy, what's that shit? Remember that shit in Pulp Fiction that everybody argues about? Weird shit with, like what's in the case? People saying that was Marcellus Wallace's soul because he had that Band-Aid on the back of his neck, and they open up the case and there's a fucking... Is that what I think it is? Sure is. It's beautiful. Remember that? And then and he opened the case lock to open up the case with that supposed glowing gold thing that's supposed to be somebody's soul. The case is 666. The case combination is 666, and Marcellus Wallace is, not Marcellus Wallace, but what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson. Remember, he's doing all the biblical stuff in there. And so the story is that Marcellus Wallace sold his soul to the devil. And, that's what the deal with the case on. I don't know, man. Natural born killers, too. I mean, I'm starting to think fucking Tarantino's another one of these MKUltra guys and involved in this pedo shit. I mean, wouldn't be a fucking shocker, would it? I mean, who did Natural Born Killers that Tarantino wrote? Fucking Oliver Stone. Right around the time he was involved with Scientology, just like I show you in Spellcasters Volume 1. Who was in Natural Born Killers? Juliette Lewis, a Scientologist. I mean, this just never ends, folks. I mean, this is exactly why it's taken me so long. I'm just to the point now where I'm just going to have to just put out what I can put out and put out more films and whatever else until it all gets out there, because it just never ends. And I'm getting to the point now where it seems like it's bottomless, where it seems like pretty much everybody of any sort of stature in Hollywood and the music industry is involved in this stuff at some level. Just about everybody. As insane and unlikely as that sounds, that seems to be the reality that we're starting to find here. It's wild shit, man. Anyway, that's all I got. I'll be back here with you tomorrow. This is our fundraising week. I'll be doing shows throughout the week, now that I'm back and I've got AC and I'm feeling good again. Again, get yourself some downloads, get a subscription to the Members Archives, make a contribution. You want to get questions in for this week? I'd love to have them. $100 contribution will get you 5 free downloads of your choice from the shop, plus a question for the show. $200 will get you the complete collection plus a question for the show. Get your questions and contributions in and help us reach 100% so we can stay alive, so I can continue this work, so we don't enable the enemy. Because like I told you, folks, that's the reason why I'm not bigger than I am. I am their biggest threat, because I'm the only person standing that's been doing this long that will tell you like it is and not sugarcoat it and not hold people as sacred cows and everything else. I shoot it to you straight 100%, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, and that's why I got to have your support. I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Take care.